Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Sweeter After Difficulty podcast. I am Randy Highsmith, and with me today, I have my regular guests, Jordan Lopez and Kris Anderson. Boys, how are you?
Doing well, Randy.
Doing
Well,
good, doing
well enough.
good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Beautiful start. Well, hey, we want to thank you for being here. I hope you had an amazing New Year's, and I hope you got to check out the episode we did last week with my buddy and my business partner, Brett Moore, about Apex Podcast. Super excited about all the things that are coming down the road with that. So I hope you get a chance to check that out. And while you're here, go ahead and click that notification button, subscribe to the channel, set your notifications, like, subscribe, share, comment, all the things. If you could, that helps us out with the algorithm. We've got some aggressive ideas going for this year. And so super excited to have you here. We're going to do a little bit of a recap. I thought it would be fun today to do kind of a callback to the episode we did right after Christmas when we were talking about resolutions versus resolve. I thought it would be kind of interesting just to see, like, okay, what does it look like on the other side of that? And, how did New Year's go? And so, first of all, um, I am a real humbug when it comes to holidays. And I'm gonna preface it like that, because as much as I love you all, and as much as I love people, um, I absolutely hate going out on holidays, right?
Mm.
I cannot stand being out in public. I can't stand the traffic. I can't stand the fighting. I can't stand all the waiting. So waiting to eat a meal for over an hour that normally would take me like 5 minutes to get. I'm not a fan of it. I'll come back and eat tomorrow. You know what I mean? But we talked about how anti-resolution I was, and just sort of the act of assigning or putting some intention behind my resolve for how we're going to go into the New Year's. So let's just start that out. How I spent my New Year's inside, wrapped up in a cozy blanket, a little bourbon, watching movies with the wife. What'd you guys
What
end up doing?
what were the movies?
What movies did we watch? Well, so um so I told you that it's cold weather season, so we're doing trilogies, right? And every once in a while we burn through all the trilogies that we've watched, 100 times. And so I decided to step out on a limb this time and watch there's a new movie that just came out. It's actually a part 3 to a movie called Now You See Me. And it's like a movie about these magicians
Oh, yeah.
who like somebody helps organize them, like robbing a bank or something. But anyway, they, I didn't realize it, but the movie that just came out is not actually the sequel. It's the third movie in the series. And so, as iTunes will do when the movie's still new, it's like $20 to rent it, $24 to buy it. Right. And then if it's part of a trilogy, they'll sell you the whole trilogy for $35. So I'm like, okay,
I mean, we're
I'm
trying
a
to save money here.
I'm a sucker for the model. I don't want to throw money out the
An
window here.
investment, Randy. Come on.
Digital asset.
And now I own it, right? I can't scratch the DVD. I can't. It's the dumbest
But it's
thing. It's
true.
the dumbest thing ever. I know it's dumb, and I do it anyway, right? It's just one of those things.
Mm.
So we bought the Now You See Me trilogy, and it was mildly entertaining. Not exactly my type of thing, kind of cheesy, but interesting concept. So that's what we did. We sat in and watched some half decent movies.
Mm.
Yeah. What about you guys? What'd you end up doing?
How about you, Kris?
We traveled down to visit the in-laws. We do this like annual tour of California. So we'll do Christmas at home in the Sacramento area, and then we'll drive to the Bay Area for my side of the family, and then we'll drive down to Southern California for my wife's side of the family. This year was a bit insane. A little bit before the holidays, my grandma passed, and we had her service on the 29th. So it wound up being like we
Oof.
had Christmas here on the 25th, drove to the Bay Area on the 26th, drove to Riverside on the 27th, had Riverside Christmas on the 28th, flew on the morning commuter at 6:30 in the morning from LA to San Jose, then turned around and flew back home at 5 o'clock from San Jose to LA. And then the next day went to Knott's Berry Farm, so that was the 30th. And then, wouldn't you know it, by the time the 31st rolled around, all of us were sick.
Oh.
Totally wrecked. Coughing, sneezing, couldn't breathe, couldn't sleep. It was awful.
That's the worst.
Yeah. It was a struggle just to make it to like the East Coast New Year's. We were like, 8:59. Yay. And then just NyQuil PM and out.
Because you're probably too much of a gentleman and you're trying to keep the peace, you're probably not inclined to say it, but you know who got you all sick. Who was it? You can feel free. Like, this is a safe space. Name the person.
I will say that there may or may not have been a sickening virus. Somebody was passing around on the 29th.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a lot. That's it was crazy. It was crazy to have you so out of pocket. Like normally we have a little bit more access to you, and then you just been kind of like you were just in the wind for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I felt like it because I certainly didn't have any control over what was happening wherever the wind blew.
Yeah. Well, I happen to know for a fact that Jordan had a different version of New Year's from either of us.
Yeah,
slightly
Jordan,
different.
Yeah. What'd you get into?
Well, I don't know. Fuck it. From separation to divorce is a very interesting process. So when you and I hear people talk about like when you in the process of being in a divorce, all the firsts are always the most painful things, right? Like the first birthdays, the first holidays, the first. So for me, it's in the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas, first New Year's, right? And I knew it was going to be a painful time going from Christmas to New Year's, and so Christmas was okay. I was uncomfortable, but we got through it. But the New Year's was difficult because I worked because it's easy to work, right? And so, like, kind of going to the Publix after work on New Year's Eve and seeing everybody there buying stuff, like preparing for their nights and their plans. This is like, and having no plans at all, and just being like, well, this is getting home, and just being like, well, this is terrible, and I'm gonna go to bed. And I was in bed at like 9:30, and just like woke up Christmas or New Year's Day. Didn't want to get out of bed. Just I don't know. I'm not a depressed kind of person, but just dealing with kind of like just like a mild kind of malaise, you could say.
Yeah.
And funk. Good. Luckily for me, Kenny's birthday is actually on. So Kenny owns my jiu-jitsu school, Kenny Kim. His birthday is on the 1st. And so I had plans then at 10 a.m. He had opened that for his birthday. So I went to it thinking I'm not going to turn down a single round. And I think we did 15 rounds. I think I rolled 14 of them just back to back to back. Destroyed myself. Got home, took the kids for a 3-mile hike, and then my kids went to my my ex's in-laws house at 3. So I had the whole rest of the day to myself. Went for another hike, took the dogs for a walk, and then another walk. And so I think I walked 22,000 steps on New Year's Day.
God.
Just to get out of my head, just to get out of the house, right? Because I don't want to sit here in my basement where I'm currently living and just stare at the wall, right? People beg in life, they beg for silence and they beg for like a quiet time. But like when your whole life is quiet time and silence, it can drown you. And so I ended up kind of trying to find things to do with my time, which is good and bad, right? It's great to have things to do, but it's also like you feel it's a crutch sometimes to like need to be busy all the time and not just deal with your problems.
How do you find that like going outside and doing the walks actually clears your head? Because I feel like if that was me, it would make me ruminate more.
It does in a way, like, so I'm a huge audiobook listener. And so I'll listen to audiobooks some of the time, but also I'm also a huge processor. And so the two kind of fight themselves in my head where I want to just process.
So you're like constantly rewinding your audiobook because you're like thinking about other stuff.
Well, and the funny thing is I'm listening to the Dark Tower series by the Dark Tower series, and so it's
Yeah, Stephen
like
King.
70
Yeah.
hours long, right? So you can
Yeah.
start and stop that shit all the
Such a great,
you don't
great series.
you don't really lose much from
I
it.
was telling
Yeah,
him,
but
bro,
it's just
I've read the whole series like 3 times. It's like some of the
yeah,
best
it's my
books
second
I've
time
read in
through.
my life.
I'm only like 2 books in. I gotta pick it back up.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but it's one of those things. Just like
book 4
it,
is amazing.
yeah. Well, and it's also too. It's like it's I love the idea because if I feel like walking is like almost like time traveling, right? I go out for an hour passes. I'm not stuck here. I'm not sitting down. I'm not dealing with all the shit that's going on. I'm not having to deal with the drama and emotion. It's just like I can go out and just disappear for an hour, and it's great. And it's also terrible because I'm kind of pushing off what needs to be dealt with and needs to be done just for my own mental sanity of it.
So,
So,
Kris, you asked a good question. So I want to kind of bounce back a question your way because it
Mhm.
occurred to me. Um, Jordan and I, well, I just it's just because I know this about myself and about Jordan, um, are like obsessive thinkers about
Mhm.
things, right? So like to the
yeah.
point where you can literally work yourself into, an anxious state that you can't escape from as easily as you could talk yourself out of it or do something,
Mhm.
like there's equal ways. When you say that going out and going for the walk and it might make you ruminate on it more, is that
Mhm.
do you find that's like your general state?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm one of those guys that's very high strung. Like my brain is constantly spinning. And my wife calls it like murder bot mode. There's
Yeah,
this
that's right.
like, I think I talked about it last season where it's like
Yeah.
everything in my life, I sequence it and process it. Like it has to fit with a certain degree of control.
Mm,
And so if any one little piece of that like supply chain is off kilter, then the whole thing kind of falls apart. And
Yeah.
so like that's why I think I love jujitsu so much. Because when I'm there, if I'm focused on anything other than jujitsu, I'm getting my head ripped off. And so
mm.
it takes so much energy just to focus and stay in the moment. And I feel like that's a really high threshold for focus. Whereas like, I'll take the dog for a walk, and I'm a big audiobook guy too. I'll go take the dog for like a little 30-minute walk around the neighborhood or something in the middle of my day, and I'll throw the audiobook on. If there was like a stressful thing that happened at work, or, I got my butt kicked the night before at class, I'll be walking the neighborhood and I'll maybe only do 2 minutes worth of audiobook time that I can actually recall because I'm like constantly like getting distracted, starting to think about other things or think about the one thing that was bothering me, and I'm like having to rewind and be like, okay, get out of it. And so anyway, I just find it fascinating that you guys can like, yeah, I'm gonna go take a stroll because that makes it so that I can't think about anything. I'm like, oh
Well,
man, I wouldn't.
yeah, and I don't think so. That's kind of where I was going because I don't go on those walks to not think about anything, right? But I also don't put music on when I go for those walks.
No, me either.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
put an
can't do that either.
I don't put an audiobook on. I
Hmm.
want I want to be there with my thoughts. I want to work through this, right? And so
Yeah.
like for me it's interesting because I don't necessarily have to have everything in its place. Like I don't
Hmm.
need to be that organized. My wife's very organized. I don't need to be that organized, but if I expect something to be somewhere and it's not, that's difficult for me to deal
Mm.
with.
Interesting.
If I thought we had a certain set of circumstances, if you and I had an understanding and we both understand what the circumstances are, and I show up and the circumstances are different, that stresses me out. Right? Like a change because I have prepared myself in all the ways that I can for that set of circumstances. And not that I can't pivot and I can't adjust, but you're going to get like the crankiest version of me while I, while I figure out how I can be in this
Yeah.
environment that was not
Yeah.
supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and also even for myself, like with so my walks always kind of start. I walk every day now. Like it's kind of as a thing I started 6 months ago, and I just enjoy it. I enjoy the time, and it's like I always like start my walk with like the audiobook, and within the first probably like 5 to 10 minutes, like audiobook is off. I'm just thinking and just processing and just kind of just spinning my
What
mind away with all this
how
other
does
stuff.
it like what does it feel like when you're doing that? Because like that would drive my anxiety through the roof.
With just the
What does it feel
thinking
like when
or
we're
just
when we're doing
Yeah,
what?
just turning the audiobook off and then you're out there walking and it's like there's nothing to like distract you. You know what I mean?
Well,
well,
let
I
me
think so.
elaborate on your question too, Jordan. I want you to answer, but when he says, what's that like? Can you describe, are you able to articulate, like paint a picture of how your like thoughts go? Like where does it how does it start? And give me like some examples of what the next prompt is that your brain would automatically give you. Right? Cuz I would like if you're able to articulate it, cuz I'd like to compare it. Um just for all of us, the way that we all handle these things, I think that there's probably a very different way that we all
Mhm.
sort of, that our brains sort of go, before it ends up in that. What we all describe as overwhelm is also vastly different from each other, right? So talk to me a little bit about that. Like when you turn the audiobook off, then what's the thought process? Like, you don't have to use specific thoughts, but just kind of like what generally type of things, how does the convo go in your head?
I think a big part of it though is, and what's interesting before I think like I step backwards, jujitsu is the most pure form of this, right? Like you step on the mat and there's no other thought, there's no other thing in your mind. It's just what you're doing in that moment, which is why so many people love the sport so much, right?
Mhm.
The moment you get onto the mat, all the static noise of the rest of the world around you just stops, right? Like I can't be thinking about the drama in my life when I'm rolling with somebody, right? I got to be completely in the moment, present. And if I'm not present, I get tapped,
Right.
right? And that's why I love the sport so much. I can go and roll for 12 of the 15 rounds, and in that hour and a half, like there's no other thought than what I'm doing in that moment. There's no other
Mhm.
drama, there's no other issue, right? So it's a huge reason why I can keep finding myself back at the sport is doing that and trying to get better and better. So I think when I'm walking, a big part of it is the walking aspect of it, is the moving my feet, is kind of like that momentum thing kind of going. I think my ADHD probably does well with me actually physically doing something versus just sitting here kind of like just stewing on something.
Yeah.
It's the moving my feet, kind of achieving something, taking away the mileage, like walking my dogs, kind of a thing. Pairing that with the thought process, I think those two, for me at least, have to kind of go together. Like I couldn't just sit here in my basement and just spend an hour and 10 minutes just thinking. Right, it wouldn't go well for me. I need to kind of put the physical with the mental part.
Are
Um,
you are you easily distracted?
Situationally, yeah, I would say it. Like if it really something really has my focus, then no. But if it's kind of like if something's fighting for my attention, then probably yeah, I'd say so. When I'm walking, I don't know. I think for me too, it's like I kind of have an artistic eye. I think I get from my mom, and so I'm always kind of like trying to be aware and be present of the things around me. Kind of look for like a cool angle of the night sky through the trees, or a cool picture that I can
Hmm.
kind of post and kind of post a kind of quick little thought or a quote or a song kind of a thing to associate with the kind of the mood that I'm in, or
That
the
feeling.
the feeling of kind of going through. But I
Yeah,
don't know. I,
your
I think
mom
for me, it's
definitely
kind of
has
like
that.
it's like I don't know. For me, it's usually just like how the day is going, right? Kind of what my thoughts are on the day, kind of what the new issue is, a new process, a new conversation I had with somebody, and kind of just trying to churn through what that is and trying to kind of break down the little parts of it in my mind. I don't know, because I think I give so much attention to kind of like, I don't know, the idea like words have meanings. And when people use
Mhm.
specific words, and not just oh, it's just a generic comment. It's like, no, no, no. People say specific things for specific reasons. And I like to kind of churn through what people say and what their intent is behind it, right? Not just what they're saying, but what their intent is behind it. And it
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
allows me to kind of work through it that way.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I'm not someone who gets easily distracted, and I also find it not to be the case for me that getting on the mats automatically shuts off that overthinking for me, right? Like I can be a couple rolls deep and still chewing hard on my stress,
Hmm.
separate from whatever I'm doing. I may not have it, like to your point, I may not have a good round. My defense might be on autopilot and I'm just laying there under someone just like, like working it out in my brain while I'm getting smashed or whatever. But um I have this sort of mental image game that I started playing with myself when I was a kid. And it's the way that I store information so that I have access to it. I've always been someone who liked to have everything out in front of me, right? I don't wanna dig through a closet to try to find something. I want the tub that thing is in to be sitting out so that I can just open it and get it. And so in my brain, I lay out all these totes and tubs and stuff, and they all have different, words and names and pictures on them. And when I have something that I'm really obsessing about, I basically take that tub and I dump everything in it out on a table and I just kind of spread it out. And then I sit there and go,
No wonder
is
you
it,
like puzzles.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I'm telling you. And so then I go, is this relevant? Does this have a place? To how does this tie in? Why is this even in my brain? Like tearing it apart like that. So that it can make enough sense so that I can put it away and go, okay, but I've gone through periods of my life where I was incredibly anxious before I figured out these tools and mechanisms to convince myself that I wasn't dying within the next 5 minutes and go, okay, well, assuming that you're still alive in 10 minutes, we're going to have a plan, right? So what does that look like? And then that's how I start to tear it apart. So I'm always fascinated by, like when I go for a walk, I'm also taking in the trees and the road and how cold it is and my breath and,
It's
what's around
interesting.
me. But I'm I'm like dumping it all out on the table, right? To figure out how it plays.
It reminds me, I was having a conversation with my daughter at bedtime a few weeks ago, and she's on this medication that like increases her like anxiety and her mood swings. And it's an epilepsy med, so it operates on that same part of the brain. And the only way that we found to like help her through that is to help her rationalize like what you're worried about doesn't warrant your energy. And so I was talking to her at bedtime the other night and she was really concerned, and I don't even remember about what it was. I think it was like she was auditioning for a play or something. And she's like, what if I don't get a part? And I kept on telling her, I'm like, everything that your brain is trying to do right now is trying to end the story that it's wanting to tell you. Like, it's trying to say, what if you don't get the part at the audition and then the story's over and the book is closed and you're left with this terrible feeling in your mouth and you're such a failure and da 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 da. And I was like, but what you have to remember is you are the author. You are still writing. Okay, so all good authors, all good writers, they will always tell you that you have to just keep writing in order to get to the final product, because at the end of the day, you need more words, not less. Okay. So I'm like, great, you don't get the part. What's the next chapter? The book's not over. What's the next chapter? What is that going to make you do? Well, I'm going to be really mad about it and I'm going to feel terrible about myself. Okay, write that chapter. That chapter deserves time. Then what's the chapter after that? Are you wanting to keep doing theater? Are you wanting to take classes? Would you want to have a conversation with the director? Do you want to, what do we do? Well, okay, great. So those are those chapters. We can outline those. What about if you do get the part? Then what's the chapter? So like your brain is just telling you, nope, there's one ending, the book's closed, you're done, you're terrible, don't worry about it. And it's like, no, just write the next story, plan it out, think ahead. Like it's okay to have other options when you're ruminating.
Yeah, that's it's so true. So it made me think of this, and I want to ask you. So are you someone who wants the least amount of information possible to function through a situation, or do you want every detail no matter how painful?
The latter, 100% the latter. Painfully the latter.
Me too. Me too. Right. So I find it to be an interesting sort of dichotomy in my brain where I've got this like extreme level of confidence that I feel like if I'm trying something, I'm going to achieve it. Right. Until I find out that I can't. And then I have while I'm
Hmm.
thinking about it, or I'm thinking about something, what the parts of it that I don't know about, I'm filling those in with the most awful horror show that you can possibly imagine, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm like setting myself up for I know I'm going to achieve it, but then I'm
Mhm.
setting myself up for the most awful dark path,
Mm.
all the way to achievement. It's like the weirdest, like a
Yeah.
weird thing that my brain does. Um, but I find that that is equally out on the path or sitting at home, by
Mm.
myself,
Yeah.
and so that's why it's fascinating to me, like hearing your perspective on.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and
I
there's so
mean,
much too, like, it's so much too and for me at least, like, so much of this is like you're kind of a passenger, right? You're a passenger. You're kind of stuck with time. The timing's not your timing. The timing's not convenient. The timing's not quick. And I'm somebody who likes things done quickly. Like, I see the path. I choose my path. I go down the path. I achieve my path.
Yeah.
Like, and there's not like oh no, no, we need to wait like 2 or 3 months just to see how it all works out. And it's like, I don't want to wait 2 or 3 months. It's like, well, you have to. And their timing is not your timing, and they might not be ready for another 6 months, and you have to just deal with it. And it's like it's weird. It's a weird kind of like letting go kind of a thing. Like, let go of the steering wheel, and kind of just realize that it's a bunch of different things that are kind of all kind of culminating together, and you can control or focus on the one thing you can control, and everything else you're kind of just like stuck not controlling and can't really invest much emotional energy into it.
Mhm.
See, I think that having gone through a situation similar to
Hmm.
yours, um, I've always been like really opposed to the idea of letting go of the wheel, right? Like I've never been someone who, and I'm sure that it's control issues, baggage from how I was raised, and I definitely am someone who wants to be in control as much as I can, and so I have to find balance in that. But my situation, and my approach to it was way more about finding contentment in the shitty times, but not letting go of the wheel. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like what are the silver linings? How can I learn how to focus on the positive but not give up control of everything? Cause to your point, right? once you once someone is not incentivized to work together with you anymore, it's amazing how much of a actual hindrance to progress that person can make themselves be, quite intentionally. Um, Divorce sucks, I also want to appreciate you. Um, and everyone that's listening to this has heard it. This is the way that Jordan communicates. There's not a lot hidden behind the curtain. There's not a lot
Not a
like,
lot of subterfuge.
I wonder what Jordan's thinking right now. It's not like it's all on the sleeve. It's all, it's out front for you. But it's really for me, someone who desires so much to have all the knowledge gaps filled on every subject that I can. Um, you don't make me ask a lot of questions, right? Like I get to just kind of go, here's the subject, and you're like, well, here's everything I think about it, and I think I appreciate that so much. Just as a friend and as a fellow
Yeah.
man in society. Uh
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And I know you and I talked about it a bunch. Like, when you go through stuff like this, right? You go through traumatic events. Well, not traumatic events, but you go through these difficult times. It's like you start kind of reevaluating kind of things about your life. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be this kind of person anymore. And
Mhm.
one of the big things recently was like, I want to be more transparent with people. I want to be more transparent. I want you to be, you'll know exactly what I'm thinking, right? And I'm a normally pretty transparent kind of person, but it's like more and more now. It's like, well, this is what I feel. This is what I think, and I'll tell you if you give me the space to tell you, I'm going to tell you. And if I care, right? If I don't care about you, then I probably won't say anything, and you'll know then where I'm at.
I
But
also know that, and so that makes
yeah,
me appreciate it
yeah,
even more,
exactly.
because I feel like I get both barrels,
Yeah.
which is but, it's like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, that's exactly what I count on,
Hmm.
in from my friends is, "Don't make me guess, like, help me be the
Yeah.
best friend to you I can by just telling me what you need or want, or how you're
Yeah.
feeling." Um, but I also think that it's so I focused on a word for this year, and it wasn't a resolution. It's not even it's not even part of my resolve necessarily. It's just something that I want to focus on. So my word for the year is authenticity.
Hmm.
And I'm really clinging to all things authentic, right? And so as I listen to podcasts and I prepare for this show and as I prepare to, help our clients with Apex and, and just trying to make the best, most authentic things we can, um, I'm very sensitive right now to like the people that listen, right?
Hmm.
So if you're listening to this podcast, there are so often times when we would tend to mask the details of something bad we were going through because of
Hmm.
how it makes us look or how someone might judge us because of it or or even just treat us differently. It might cost us relationships or it might, if someone knows something different about you than they think, right? And when you're in a place like you are and you're choosing to be that authentically vulnerable and forthright and honest, uh, there are undoubtedly people out there that are going to go, "Oh my God, I feel exactly like that." Right.
Hmm.
And there's going to be other people that go, "Well, I guess I'm not hanging out with Jordan anymore." Like,
Hmm.
um, and either way, you're better off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Right.
gonna want
Like,
to know.
you wanna know, and you wanna be able to live your life in the most real and authentic way possible.
Yeah.
I just like I said, during this time, and there's gonna be ups and downs, right? I'm proud of you for choosing to try to be the most authentic, honest person that you can. I think that
Hmm.
that as you move through this thing, if that can be a foundational cornerstone of the building
Hmm.
that you build going forward in the next new chapter of your life, dude, I think you're in such a good spot, to be
Hmm.
open to whatever that has for you. So I'm just want to
Yeah.
encourage you, like I
Yeah.
see it and I hope you keep doing it,
Well, yeah. Well,
you know?
and thanks. It's like, it's weird because it's like, it's such a weird kind of feeling to be like, I want to, because naturally, right, I've always kind of wanted to hold back, right, and not kind of reduce friction and reduce stress with people and kind of go along to get along and kind of
Mhm.
hold back those things. And and now it's like, I just, like, yeah, everybody has struggles and everybody has ups and downs. It's like, but I want to feel like I'm progressing, right? I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to be the next 2 years be the exact same person and look back on 2 years and be like, wow, I didn't change. Or I was bitter or I was angry the last 2 years, right? Because there's so many cliche things of like, oh, 41-year-old divorced dads in jujitsu, right? And it's like, I don't want to be I don't want to be defined as this. I don't want to be identified as this. Like, this is the last thing I want,
Yeah.
right? I want to just be
Right.
just it's a chapter, like you're saying, like the chapter in my book, and I'm moving forward, and I'm figuring it out, and I'm going to be a better person for it, and that's all it can be,
So
right?
why do you think then, and I'm super interested to hear what both of you think of this, why do you think then that as we go through life, we prioritize other people's comfort over our own authenticity so much?
Well, as somebody who grew up being unable to live through a conflict, let me
Mm.
tell you,
Yeah,
the
no,
pain,
please do. I'm like super fascinated.
the pain of conflict was always lower in the perception of it anyway, was always less than the pain of personal discomfort.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that.
So then as you work through those things, do you find yourself like caring less about what people think, or are you just figuring out new ways to sort of duck around it?
I think it's more so like exposure therapy, like doing this podcast, like not being afraid of, like Jordan, like you're saying, like opinions are okay. They're not dangerous things, and if people don't like them, that's also not dangerous, you know.
Completely. Yeah.
And so being exposed to that as like a stimulus repeatedly, that for me, that's been the biggest thing.
Hmm.
Like, oh, okay, conflict maybe isn't like this big scary monster with teeth,
So, oh yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
I don't know. You go, Randy. Sorry, mine's who Mike. Wait.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, then can we pivot that conversation a little bit into, um, because we talked about how you like to set goals, Kris.
Mhm.
So have you set your goals? Are you implementing them? Like what is your transition into the new year look like?
Yeah. So there's a personal, a professional, and a home life goal. So the personal goal is to, no more half measures with my diet. And I made last year really, really good progress. And I got down to, the weight that I wanted to be. And then I got really aggressive trying to bulk up, and I went overboard just a little bit and kind of erased maybe like the last 20% of my weight loss. So I'm going to get back on the horse and just finish it, do it the right way, exit the right way from the diet. And so far, the last 10 days, meal prepped breakfast and lunch for my wife and I, and staying consistent. So that's going good.
Yeah.
Um, Home
And by the
life
way,
is,
I appreciate you taking off some of the bulk, because when you're a little heavier, it's a real pain in the body. I just wanna
just big,
just wanna
big Randy Sprawls.
just wanna throw that out there. The heavier you are, the more I hate it. So
Yeah. It's good. I'm doing this for you, Randy.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. And then the home life goal is we are finally going to address all of the clutter in the house. And we have not done one massive decluttering since we moved in 2016. When I tell you I haven't been more excited for anything in my life, I am so excited to get rid of. We're just going to call a dump truck and it's going to back right in, and we're just going to start throwing stuff over the side.
Dude, there is a level of catharsis involved in that activity that you are gonna find blissful, I think.
Oh,
I
I can't wait.
I
I'm
dumped
gonna, I'm
so
gonna,
much stuff. When we moved in this trailer, I literally sent out a text to everyone. I was like, "Who needs a TV? Who needs a couch? Come over and get
yeah,
this stuff."
right.
And people literally just came over with their
Well,
trucks and just
I'm gonna be texting you guys. I'm like, do you want this? Do you want
dude.
this? I will ship it. Like,
Oh, it felt so good to see the just empty. I'm like, "Oh,
yeah, yeah.
so good." Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So we're going to kick that process off probably in the next week or two. And then professional goal is just continue the career growth trajectory. Like, really want to lock in on some key milestones for going up in my title and taking that next step. Yeah, those are the three domains. Those are the domains for the year.
Nice. So, Jordan, I know that you and I are anti-resolution, but I imagine, as in a time of reflection, that there are probably some things in your life that you're looking to cut out and some things that you're looking to add. Anything stick out immediately to you, like in terms of how you're setting your resolve towards this year?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, like one of the big things right now is the being transparent, kind of being honest with people. Like is one of the big ones for me. And then the other one that kind of has really come about through this whole process is kind of like not being that kind of go along to get along kind of person, right? And I look about that, and that was probably the most raw thing for me in this whole process. Kind of like looking back and kind of seeing, like, even from childhood, kind of being the firstborn, having two younger sisters, and like kind of being the one who gets in trouble for things, and kind of just being like the yes sir, okay, sorry, my bad. Like, even if it wasn't my fault, right? Just taking the blame, just trying to
Mhm.
remove that friction, remove that kind of the issue within the family structure, say. And so, and now kind of looking at this whole process now, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to be that person who just kind of goes along to get along. And it has caused a lot of ripples and a lot of friction within people who I care
I
about
was
and
gonna
people who I
ask.
love. Yeah.
I was gonna say, dude, because I distinctly remember when I decided I'm going to go to a group of people and I'm going to tell them that the way that I've allowed them to treat me for my entire life is no longer going to be allowed. And I remember those conversations so vividly, because it literally, in almost every instance, they just looked at me like I was slapping them in the face. Like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just telling you be prepared. You're going to see a slightly different version of me, and
Nice.
it's probably not going to be as accepting of some of the things that I find that I am not willing to tolerate in my life for myself anymore. Um, and so I can imagine, right? Those interactions.
Well, and it's interesting too. Is like it was brought to my attention by somebody who really cared about several months ago. Like several months of like you, and it was so funny. They're like, that good boy Jordan is not doesn't get things done. Like, yeah, yes, maybe in the moment it seems like you're getting stuff done, but you're not getting stuff done. And it was like a real like stark kind of like a feeling. And as time has gone on, this whole process has kind of worked its way through. Like it's happening more and more that I'm really trying to, and I've had really uncomfortable and really like awkward conversations with my parents who especially kind of feel that kind of stuff in that moment. And when it was first initially happening, it was really raw and really painful. And there was lots of pain and lots of anguish throughout the whole process. And like, it was just the most uncomfortable way you could say things was said. Right. And then now as I'm kind of looking back at my
Right.
parents and I are in a much different spot and a much different kind of part of me can actually talk about stuff and not just be like this angry all the time. Like I'm feeling it more and more of just being like, no, I don't accept things like that. I don't accept being talked to that way. I don't expect or accept being treated these certain ways. Then I put up with for 40, 30 years kind of a thing. And now it's like, no, that's
Yeah, yeah.
stopping now. And if you don't like it, then you can, like, and I remember even saying like, if you don't support me, you can leave. Like all my life has been burned to the ground. I've been scoured. There's no foundation. I'm rebuilding foundation. If you're not here, it's fine. And having those really uncomfortable conversations and and we're in a really good spot now. But it had to come to a spot where I just didn't care anymore. Like I didn't care to lose it. If I've lost everything, what does it matter? What's another thing to
Right.
lose?
The
Right.
stakes weren't there for you, and
Exactly.
and it
Yeah.
allowed you some clarity.
Yeah. Oh, because and it's like when the band-aid gets torn off, like people are always like, oh, you want the band-aid to get out slowly or fast, right? Like, well, this band-aid was torn off and skin came with it, right? And it was nerve. And all it could be was just raw nerves, raw emotion, raw feeling. And it was just a lot of clarity comes from that moment. Like a lot of pain, but a lot of clarity comes in that. And I would and looking back now over the last 11 weeks, I would much rather have it be that way than be a slow burn. It's going to take 6 months to a year to finally work its way out versus 10, 12 weeks of
Yeah.
just absolute anguish the entire time.
Well, it's a mentality for sure,
Yeah.
the ripping off the Band-Aid, the jumping in the deep end, whatever analogy you like to use for that.
Hmm.
It's certainly right. It's intensely personal.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we talk so much about how we put ourselves through intentional suffering. But then when it comes to those things, and again, I think this is an interesting, like an interesting connection because we have control over what we allow, right? We have control over what we let in. Um, we don't always have control over the outside, and we don't have control over what other people do or what they think or what they say. But we have control over what we do and what we think and what we say, right? And
Hmm.
I think that coming to a comfortable place with myself, like I never, you know, like if you've known me my whole life, I never would have said, "Well, you know what the problem is? It's me." Like I never
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
wasn't the conversation we were having, right? It was like, "Let me help you be a better version of yourself," right? And now as I've gone through that time period and I've gone through that scouring and that, all that time, um and trauma I think is a perfectly acceptable word for the situation that you're going through. So, um, you know, don't diminish the experience. It's traumatic no matter what. Um, but I think that I found myself in a much more comfortable place with going, like ripping off the band-aid is a form of control, but it serves a purpose, right? It it
Hmm.
it allows me to get past the and because again, right, my brain is going to fill what it's going to feel like ripping the Band-Aid off and what it's going to feel
Hmm.
like jumping in the deep end of the pool. It's gonna fill in those holes with the worst horror you can imagine,
Yeah.
which is actually going to slow my steps towards an eventuality. as if I can just go, I'm not gonna think about, oh, okay, yep, that hurt a lot, like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, ow, stupid,
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah.
then as it fades, you go, oh, if I hadn't done it this way, I might still be in the midst of suffering for a long time to come.
Yeah.
Like I might still only have a quarter of this Band-Aid ripped off, and I'm already
Mhm.
hurting as much as I am now anyway, but I still have the three, the rest of the Band-Aid to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, interesting
it's
too, Randy.
a
Well, so like I was gonna say, like
yeah, go
kind
for
of
it.
peeling back a little bit behind the curtain for our extensive audience. So hey, Randy and I actually had a really interesting, kind of funny, not interesting, like interaction recently. If you don't mind me talking about it, like so on New Year's Day, like I was really very much of like this in a dark spot kind of a thing. And I was kind of like looking at my phone. I'm like, nobody's called me in 12 days. Like nobody's reached out to me in 12 days. I've called people, but nobody's reached out to me. But and my buddy who reached out to me is a really good jujitsu friend. He's a crazy 1%er biker, and it's funny because as time goes on, he and I are becoming better friends. And so, like Randy called me, I think a day or so later, and I was frustrated when you called me, like bugged that I
Yeah.
have called you, but you've not called me. And you're like, "Hey, how's it going?" Upbeat. You have Michelle on the phone with you too. I'm like, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm tired of calling you, Randy. You need to call me. I'm not calling you anymore. And it's just like it was a very much of a diversion of who I've been previously, right? Because that's like normal old Jordan would have been like, I don't want to cause friction. I don't want to hurt our friendship. I'll just swallow it and
Yeah.
I'll just be this.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I can't do this anymore. It's like that from that movie Tombstone, right? Where Doc Holliday's like, well, I don't have any. Like, what are you doing this for? Like, I have tons of friends. Like, well, I don't. Like, and it's the
Yeah.
thing for me.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have
Yeah.
many friends, and the friends I do care about, friends I have, I desperately care about. So it's like, and so with Randy, it's like we had this initially uncomfortable, but it was amazing, and it's completely adjusted our friendship, and it's made things so much
Completely.
better. And I'm so glad I was able to be open enough to the situation to
Me
go out and say
too.
that.
Me too. And like I said, bro, that is, I mean, being able to honestly tell me that something is bothering you
Mhm,
gives me the opportunity then to either acknowledge and rectify it and
mhm,
apologize, or go, quit being a baby, like
mhm,
whatever, um and like I said, I want the gaps filled in. I
mm,
Whatever I don't know, I want to know. And so I think my response was, I wish you just would have yelled at me 10 days ago. Like what, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't let it go this long. Like, just be brutally honest right up front, like that, and then I'll fix whatever we can fix. But again, it does feed into that the importance of not only being able to be brutally honest, but of
mhm.
being able to receive brutal honesty.
Yes.
And I appreciated it. I agree with you 100%. I think our friendship is better because of it, and it will only continue to strengthen the more that we can just continue to be honest with each other like that. And it's the
Mhm,
same way with Chris too, like he talks about the podcast and helping him work out some of his things all the time. But, initially, besides just being friends with Chris and being another jujitsu guy, one of the attractive things for me having him be a guest on this show, let alone a regular, is that we don't necessarily see eye to eye on
yeah.
things. And
Mhm.
the so I'm always so excited when Chris is able to have those kind of conversations with me where he goes, "Hey, you were kind of being a dick to me back then." And I go, "Oh, dude, really?" Like, okay. Uh, and even if I go, "Well, I wasn't really being a dick to you," at least I can acknowledge that you felt like I was, right? Like, at least I have that information now. Um, it's it's been so enriching for me just to be able to have these conversations with you guys regularly, and also the friendships that happen outside of the
Mhm.
show. I could never put a price tag on it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, and we have these
Um,
friendships that we create like in jujitsu, right? But then you have these trauma bonded centric relationships, but then you kind of start going outside of that and you start building in, like you said, like kind of filling in the gaps, right? Like you need to have those uncomfortable
Mhm.
conversations with people. You need to be able to be like people who you have intimate relationships with, right? You got to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations, or else what's the point, right? then you have a bunch of shallow relationships that really don't become anything, and you end up living your life with people who you're like, what am I doing here? Like, why do I have this person in my life if I can't really have a real conversation with them? I mean, I can't really, if I'm afraid to say something to them because it might hurt their feelings, and then they'll throw a fit and pout for the next 6 weeks. And you're like, what are we doing? Like, life is so short and life is so long. And it's just, this is really for me kind of like clarify a lot of stuff. Like, if I care about something, I gotta let them know. Like, and if I don't care about them,
Yeah.
you'll never hear from me. And well,
Yeah.
what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. So if your phone hasn't been ringing,
Yeah.
you know how Jordan feels about you now.
But the thing is, though, but people
Well-
accept like people accept so much though from people. Like, they'll swallow so much oftentimes in life, and you're like, but you want to do this for the next 30 years? Like, really? This is what we want? But unless you can't have an
Yeah.
honest conversation with somebody, and
it can become a problem, right?
Yeah.
Certainly, it's one of those things. But I also think, I think about this a lot, right? Because you hear a lot of things thrown around about toxic masculinity and about, how men are supposed to be, and, how we're supposed to act and what we're supposed to do. And I think that that mindset has gotten blurred way too much with the reality of life and what it's really like to be a man. And, I relate way more to like the Bushido code, where you're a warrior, but you also know how to make tea, and you also understand ceremony, and you also know how to write calligraphy, right? You're an artist, and you're a poet, and you're a warrior, and you're a husband, and you're a father, and like, I relate to that stuff way more than I do like, look at me being a big, strong guy in America, don't mess with me. I relate way more to that.
Alpha, bro.
No, yeah, and like you will never hear me describing myself as an alpha,
Right.
regardless of what the situation is. But I think that it's gotten even worse as I get older. And I know, Jordan, we talked about this a little bit, but I'd like to put out a heartfelt plea to everyone who's posting these videos of kids asking their foster parents to adopt them on Christmas, or, troops coming home and surprising their kids in school after being gone for a year, or someone making a sacrifice to radically change someone's life. If you guys could stop posting those, that would be amazing. Because I can't stop the waterworks anymore these days. And I'm
Randy's
just sitting out
severely dehydrated.
Oh, I'm like at lunch at work, sitting there going, oh my God, I hope nobody walks in right now. I'm going to have to tell them somebody in my family's dying or something. I can't tell them it's.
My grandma died. Was that the same grandma last week?
Yeah.
So then what I do for therapy is I go over to the videos of the ungrateful kids at Christmas, and then I'm like, oh, I hate the internet again. Okay, I can get off. I can separate myself.
Balance the scales.
You have to. I think somewhere along the road, we got this idea that it's not okay for you to have feelings, and it's not okay for you to have emotions, and it's not okay for you to cry, and it's not okay, like all these things. And I think there could not be a more damnable lie from the pit of hell than to deny that we're human beings just because we're men or women. Like, I just think that there's way too much emphasis on the separation and on what we don't, toxic masculinity or girl power or whatever it is. I think all of it is so divisive. And I wish we could just find a way to come to these kind of tables, and go, hey, we don't have to agree on this stuff, but I care about you. Like, I don't, fine. You want to be macho, or you want to be a guy who's not macho at all, and you just want to cry. It doesn't matter. I care about you as a person. Like, your attributes don't matter to me. Who you sleep with doesn't matter to me. What church you go to doesn't matter to me. It's not my business anyway. Right. So why are we making that so important? How about it just be about the essentials? How about it just be about me loving you, me wanting to bless you, me hoping that brightening your day might make it possible for you to have a better life. That has nothing to do with all that other shit, right? It just has to do with being a
Mhm.
decent human being.
Yeah.
I hope that I hope that we can help bring some of that about. I hope that my quest for authenticity will help me be able to be more real for more people, and and by virtue of that be more available for more people. I built a
Mhm.
lot of walls when I was younger, and I'm hoping that this is the chapter of tearing them down and letting have people have a little bit more access, even if it means that I get hurt, you know, just so that I'm not intentionally creating a wall between me and my fellow man.
Mhm.
Yeah, love that. Could not agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys for it. It's finding people that are on board with that is not always the easiest thing too. But I also think but the part of the problem is we can't be honest about it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So everybody needs it and wants it, but no one can say it out
But
loud.
it's like, it's also the way that you were talking about it is so dead on, right? Like, it's not just that we have feelings, but it's that we can communicate about them.
Mhm.
That's one of the things that like separates us from the apes.
Right.
Mhm.
Right? Like that's what gives us part of the big thing that gives us our humanity. And
Yeah.
to be told that communicating those things is problematic, I
Mhm.
think reduces us.
Yeah.
It
And I
does
think the
100%. I couldn't agree
yeah.
more. And also just the association with weakness, right?
Mhm.
Like, where did that come about? Like, having actual feelings that are natural is a weakness?
Mhm.
Like, I like, that's horseshit. It's just flat out. I don't know. Sorry, Jordan, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, it's interesting. So, again, through this whole process, right? There's so much emotional swings, I mean, ups and downs and stuff like that. I've been finding myself like it's so sweet because like Mackenzie, who's 14, is just it's kind of like leaned. So her and I are very similar in a lot of ways. Like it's crazy because we'll be driving and some random song will come on and it'll elicit a bunch of emotion from me, and she's kind of like will look over at me and kind of see me like kind of fighting back tears and fighting back the emotion in the moment. And I'm driving, and she'll like reach over and like hold my hand as we're driving and kind of like show that like that comfort and that calm. And it's like I was thinking about, I'm like, I'm glad that I'm showing her that I have emotion about this. That things are bothering me. I'm like stoic, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a rock and things can't bother me, and it is what it is, and I'm just gonna this is a let the waves crash over me and it won't move me. It's like, no, I want you to know that I'm feeling a certain way, and that and I'm still moving forward, and I'm still trying to work my way through this, and I'm not happy about the way things are going, the way I can, and I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm available to you versus just swallowing it
And bro,
and
think about it
never
right
should.
now.
Yeah.
She's gonna have such realistic expectations about what a man should look like as she goes
Mhm.
to find, her life partner. Um, I can't I could not quantify if I wanted to how many people told me that I was just some like heartless, logic driven tin man with a hollow tin chest, that just had no feelings. And it was really, I realized at some point that it was because I was doing an impression of the men in my life when I was a kid, that you never saw them cry. You never, when they got hurt, it was a string of obscenities,
Mm,
followed by, spit on it, band-aid it, and get back to work. Right. It wasn't like sit and, wallow in your sorrow or your sadness or your weakness, or even express those things. So it felt unnatural to me. And it made me uncomfortable to tell people I loved them, and it made me uncomfortable
yeah.
to receive love from people, and it was
Ooh.
all these things that I was missing out on in life were all based off this super false premise that was just passed down generationally.
Mhm.
And I really want to break the chain. I intentionally, with my boys, I was like, I'm not going to do that in front of them, right? I'm going to
Mm,
have to make an effort to be real and be human in front of
mm,
them. And honestly, it's anecdotal, right? It's only my situation, but my kids are two of the kindest men I've ever known in my
mm.
life.
Yes.
And I think that that's because they had a safe place to have feelings in my house. They were, I didn't chastise them for crying. I didn't get upset at them for having feelings, and so they're not afraid. They care about people, and they're not afraid to let people know. And I think that I tell them all the time, like, they'll say, "Oh, I wish I was farther along in life than this," or "I wish this wasn't such a thing for me." And I go, there's a million people who are great at that and not that many people who are truly kind. I would much rather you just be a kind person, and work on the things that you feel are weaknesses when you already have this amazing skill that most people don't have, like
Yep.
I'm envious of your natural kindness because I have to work to be
Yep.
kind a lot. Like it doesn't come, I mean, I want to be kind, but it doesn't come naturally to me to express that, just because of the baggage and the tradition and the habits. It's yeah, I hope that, I hope you're encouraged out there if you're listening to this conversation, have feelings, express them, teach people how to accept you for who you are and don't be afraid to express those things and be careful about trying to associate yourself with these random labels that people put on things just so that you don't, like you don't need all that shit. You know who you are, you know how you feel. Don't be afraid to be who you are and express who you are. I think, like I said, I just think the world needs more people who are able to be authentic and honest. God, you guys, this was an amazing conversation. Any last thoughts before we put a bow on this thing?
This was a fun one. I like the way the discussion went. That was fun.
Yeah. I like these talking to you guys, having these conversations. Fun fact for that I might not have mentioned before, but if you've been listening for a long time, if you're just joining us, whatever. But originally, when I was thinking about this podcast, I cut up the different types of interviews that I was going to do into segments, and I categorized them, and I named them all. And the name for this category, that's the three of us, or whoever we bring on with our, our panels, is Bourbon and Bushido.
Mhm.
And I called it that because the idea of the conversation with all of us came from us doing a bourbon club in real life, in person when Jordan was still living in California. And then Bushido obviously means the way of the warrior, right? It's all that code. And if you don't know all of the tenets of Bushido, I encourage you, go check it out. It's really it's a fascinating philosophy. Even if you don't embrace all of it, you don't have to make that your culture, but you can definitely take some things away from it. I encourage you, have these kind of conversations with your friends, have them with your family, have them with the people you care about. Be brave like Jordan. Be willing to call your friends and go, "Hey, you know what? I need some calibration here." Like, dude, honestly, like I'm 100% serious. It will make a difference one way or another. Um, find out, do some experimenting. Now's a great time to start figuring out what you want life to look like for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And if you're not headed in the right direction, make a course correction now.
Yeah.
The best day to plant a tree is when? 20 years ago, right? The next best time is today. So, just want to encourage you all with that as we wrap this conversation up. I just want to express gratitude, as always, to you for being here. Thank you for sticking with us in these conversations. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes and your subscriptions. If you haven't already done that, subscribe to the channel, set your notifications, tell your friends about it, bring them into the conversation. Please share your comments with us. We love to hear your perspective. Anything that you heard us talking about today, agree, disagree, whatever, let us know. We'd love for you to be part of those conversations. And again, as always, gratitude. Kris, Jordan, thank you so much for being here and for these combos. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I'm so excited to be going into season 2 with you. Thanks for being here.
Yep.
Thanks,
Always.
guys.